Hello, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer, and I'm out on another walk. And today I'm going to start my little walk at Itchingfield at St Nicolas Church, which is a very lovely and beautiful church. And I've come here before, actually, about, well, it must be nearly 10 years ago now, when the vicar, who was John Gay, who's no longer the vicar here anymore, had a problem with the roof. And I made a whole video about not only Itchingfield Church, but also the whole business of churches crumbling in the landscape and what we should do about them. I'll link to it in the description. It was called Crumbling Churches, and it was one of my longer format Bald Explorers. But I was only thinking about it the other day, and I realised that there is a very interesting walk next to the priest house, which is just in front of me. And I thought I would go and explore that, but use the church as my starting point. Plus the fact I can park the van there as well. The church, as you'll see in the longer format video, has this wonderful little priest's hut, so that visiting priests to the church back in whenever it was, 1600s if I remember rightly, and I can't remember exactly, could stay in this. And it's on 2 levels. Unfortunately, the windows have had to be grilled up now for their protection, but it's absolutely wonderful little building. And we're so lucky, really, to have some of these sort of things in existence, because they're so easily no longer there. And I wonder how many more of the churches would have had it. And you can see it's got Horsham stone, heavily mossed at the moment, on the top, with a central chimney, which shows that there was a hearth inside. I've been inside in the previous video and had a look round at it, and it's just a remarkable building. But I can't linger too long on here because I want to crack on with my walk. So one day I'll have to come back and do more. Love these old little bridges across the streams. Absolutely wonderful. Now, I've not been on this walk before, so this is all quite new to me. A little bit muddy, but it's only about a 2-mile walk. I will try and remember to put the map on the screen just to show you. Sometimes I don't put the map on, I think mainly because I feel it's more about the walk than actually showing you where I am, but I will try and do it. I know people do say, "Oh, Richard, can you please put the map on so we can follow where you're going?" I guess that is a sensible thing. Anyway, going past this rather beautiful coppiced field here, which I think must be hazel. It does look very divine, with a little bit of what must be birch, I think, thrown in. I'm walking along the edge of this field at the moment, doing a boundary walk. Thank you to the people who, as a response to my previous video, they've told me the official guidelines to public footpaths. I think if it's on the edge of a field, it should be 1.5 metres, if I remember rightly. There is a web page somebody sent me that's actually the government website, which tells you these details. It is a little muddier than I expected again today. We do have a bit of wind, which I hope won't interfere on the microphone too much. But we have sunshine, which is the most important and what I love. The wood to my right on this side here is it's got the sign actually saying private, keep out, so of course I'm not going to wander into it, but I think in the next month or so you can see that the bluebell shoots are up, which is fantastic to see. It's going to be an absolute wonderful colour of blue all through there, which will look lovely. And in the field that I'm walking along, there's a curious little hut I noticed as I came out of the wood a few minutes ago, just behind me. And I'm not sure what that was used for, but it's interesting when you see a hut in the middle of a field. The wind, I'm afraid, is quite strong. And this path must have been used, is also a bridle path, I reckon, because of the deep churned up horses' hooves that are in it, that have really dug into the mud. That can't be easy for horses, and it makes you think about what makes me think about back in the days of early travelling through Sussex and the Sussex clay. That was pretty impassable for a lot of people, especially when the coaches came. The coaches struggled against the deep cloying mud or clay, the Sussex clay. But by golly, how lovely to have the sun shining and the warmth finally here. This is really going to get the flowers and the blossom ready to just spring out. Well, my goodness. Some people do say to me, Richard, you know, why aren't you wearing your gaiters? They were a gift. And they were a gift, and they are lovely, and I do intend to use them. It's just some days when I set out, I think it can't be that muddy, surely. And in recent ones, you know, little specks and a little bit of mud on the trails, I don't mind. I expect to get a bit muddy. So I'm not so much worried about that. It's more when I'm wading through very wet grass. That sort of thing is what I think my gaiters are going to be more for. But just coming up this little track that I've just come up now, it's fenced off on either side, and obviously there's a lot of water. But I didn't realise quite how much churning up horses, and it is horses, are doing to the paths. I know tractors, of course, they churn it up, the weight of those. But this is clearly being used quite a bit. And it's about 8 inches deep in places, which is quite a lot, really, I think. I guess it's because the horses are confined to such a narrow path. But yeah, you definitely need good walking boots, and I'm so pleased I made the decision to buy the right ones. Right, we are continuing up this pathway, and I think we will get to a road. I'm walking down a pathway which must go through really an ancient hedge row, I think, of some note, because I've noticed, just coming up to some more here actually, holly along here, which is an indicator of ancient paths and things, just in here. And of course, all along the side of me, we've got these oak trees, which are in this path. And if one can get through a little bit, excuse the wobbly camera work, if I come through a little bit round here, we'll see elements of the old field boundary. Again, a ditch which the spoils have been thrown up either side, and therefore it shows this could date back to the 1600s, this field boundary here, along with the trees. I mean, these trees probably aren't that old, but they look like they're a good 150, something like that, years old. And I also notice coming out, looking at the buds, which is fascinating to see now. Here we are towards the middle of February, getting towards the end of February, but not quite there. The buds on the oak trees are just now visible, and will be slowly opening up. So that's rather good. And as I come down here, I can see where the horses all come from, for there's a paddock, which obviously they do a bit of training in. I've come out now onto a road, not a terribly busy road, and there's some interesting properties here, quite large, expensive properties, in this wonderful quiet piece of Sussex countryside. I should, I suppose, explain that I think Itchingfield itself, where St Nicolas Church is about, I think it's a sort of 5-6 miles from Horsham, something like that, and the actual village itself is spread out. So it's not one of those nuclear villages that has a green and is all around the green as such. And of course, I imagine that back in its day, it would have favoured those country folk, the farmers, a lot of rural community around here. Now, as I stroll along this little stretch northwards, I'm actually looking for a turning on my right, which will take me back down towards St Nicolas Church. So this is still part of the Itchingfield parish. There's a sign here behind me, it says Itchingfield Parish Council, with a post box. And there's a loop walk. Actually, I did look on the map and I did think I could do that just down that pathway there, but I'm not doing that today, but I may come back and do some more. There's obviously an area that, as long as I can park the van somewhere nearby, then I can, get more of these walks done. There's a couple that do all the stations, all the railway stations, which it did strike me as a bit of a personal challenge. One could say, I'll do all the footpaths, because I dismissed that because it's totally ridiculous. How could you possibly do all the footpaths? You'd need many, many lives to do it. But I'll do some of the footpaths. So, if I've got my bearings right, there is the footpath sign. And somewhere, not through this gate, but just to the side, is where I now turn, and that will take me back towards the church. Well, I hate to say it, I'm walking across a field where the delineation of the footpath has not been really allowed for in the crop. I just wonder whether the farmers really know this, understand this. I mean, it's barely a foot across, the path is so thin, and this is a public right of way, so it just baffles me. And actually this path I'm following zigzags across. If you followed the sign, which points from one point to the other point across the field, you'd go right through this farmers' crops. And I don't like to do that. I mean, I like to give farmers the benefit of the doubt. This path just seems to zigzaggy around a little bit, and fortunately, because people have walked it, we know where it is. But I do wish when they're ploughing or drilling the crop, they do make allowances for this. They've got all this GPS technology, so maybe if there's any farmers watching, they could explain the reasoning for not making it vague. I mean, it probably isn't intentional, and they're not doing it deliberately. It just may be, you know, an extra thing that they don't want to think about. I get that, but you know, I don't want to tread your crops down, and if I couldn't find the path, then I probably would. Well, I've arrived back now at the church, and where I've parked my van in the car park. So that's it for my walk today. I hope you've enjoyed it. There's a guy strimming, I think, or doing something down on the other end. So I've come round the north side of the church, right opposite a very beautiful old property here, tile hung with Horsham stones and old chimneys. It's very lovely to see. But anyway, that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to follow, like and subscribe, become a patron and support what I do, and I'll continue to make these videos. If you did, give us a thumbs up, that would be great. And I'll see you on the next one. Till then, bye-bye, bye-bye.